Hello, hello, greetings, greetings. Welcome back to Antonia's Blissful Corner. And today I'm here again with Dr. Pratt. Hey, Dr. Pratt.
Yes, yes. Glad to be here. Um,
Yay.
Even though some would say the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
He's like,
Uh,
"Whoa."
yeah, this kind of feels like a New York week. You know,
It does.
it's like people that aren't used to every day there's something that's happening. That's pretty much New York.
I feel that
Um,
I feel the same.
two, two street, what do you call it? Street mains broke. There's a flood on 67 between 67th and 80th. There's a flood,
Train
and
not working.
right in the Bronx, the four train's not running at all. Um, there were 16 different. Probably I'm moving too much. There were 16 different shootings happening in all five boroughs.
Yep.
There's a nurses strike, and um, four Catholic schools going to get shut down. So
Yes.
just a New York day.
So yeah, exactly. So today we're basically going to share tips for living through stressful times as introverts.
And I
So
think I think that you know what might be cool too as New Yorkers because no one that I can think of in this country lives a New York life on a day to day
no,
basis.
only New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just this is normal.
Yeah, it really is. Because for me, I'm not going to say it's just another day at the office, but I think after a while, and especially now that I'm learning more about myself and, preserving energy,
Hmm.
I'm choosing to not participate mentally
Hmm.
because there isn't anything that I can do to
Hmm.
change anything that's going on. And so I'm choosing to just literally mind my business
Yeah.
because while it is going to impact me a certain way, me going the sky is falling, it's not going to change anything.
Right.
The only thing it's going to do is cause me to basically exert a lot of energy, get tired, exhausted, frustrated. And
Yeah.
why? you know
And also when you live in New York and you are that person that's screaming, everybody looks at you like
yeah.
it's
Oh,
like
yesterday.
there's no this was just happened. Now, occasionally there are rare times when the whole city shuts down, like for snowfall or for a MTA strike. That's the Metropolitan Transportation Authority strike. So that means
Hmm.
no trains, no buses, nothing, no ferries. Um, but I think that to your point, one of the tips I would say as an introvert is we do our research. We don't
Yeah.
because we're not necessarily going to communicate, or we prefer silent communication.
Hmm.
um, that usually means that we're going to research and get answers, and then when we do have a conversation, we're speaking from a factual place, um,
Indeed.
and we're pretty much seeing all the bases that I covered,
Hmm.
not just the ones that make our point. I think that introverts are typically both sides people or all sides, or I don't say all sides, but all sides of the coin. So both sides of the coin. Um, that also means that when we look at information, we're looking at information from the best possible, closest source,
Yes.
not Russian TV, not Al Jazeera. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying they're not close
Right.
to the source.
Right.
So I pay $10 a month for something called Democracy Docket. That's not. It's not. It's, the person that writes it. He's not a just left leaning person. He's actually a lawyer who has filed cases against the administration and against the GOP. But because he's a lawyer and he's active, he can only really state the facts.
Right.
So his emotion comes to a little tiny bit, but for the most part, it's pretty much just here's what the court said or here's what, and in that perspective, it helps me to not react because I'm getting the information from the source who can analyze it and tell me the legal standing and the legality within what was said without. It's funny when I read what he has and I read something from CNN or someplace else, and it has so much emotion attached to it. So it's almost like what I think as introverts we like to have silent communication.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have silent communication, then I'm going to have facts that don't necessarily have a loud emotional tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not consuming the writer's sarcasm or snarkiness or I don't I'm just I have so much in my life. I have a 3-year-old, I have umpteen clients. I don't need to take on someone else's energy. So I
Yeah.
want to get what happened. I want to get how that could possibly impact, and I want to get what's the solution. And I
Correct.
don't really want all the other stuff.
The fluff. Yep.
Or
Um.
supposition, or
Yeah.
it's the 14th time in history. But that doesn't matter today, though. It could be the
Right.
14th time in history, but today, right now, I'm not living back in 1967 or 52. I'm living right here, right now, with the
Mm-hmm.
current leaders of the world and their current problems and their
Mm-hmm.
current,
Beliefs.
phobias, yeah, beliefs, and
Yeah.
everything else. So, I think that's the biggest takeaway is that probably introverts cut through the noise really well.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we stay close to source.
Yes, I agree. So I got rid of cable in I think the fall of 2020. And so the only time I watch I turn on the television in my room is on the mornings when I'm going to work, and that's just to hear what's going on with the train and what's
Mm-hmm.
going on with
Yeah,
with
New
everyone.
York. That's New Yorker.
A, a couple weeks ago I was so glad that I did that because I was getting dressed and I leave home early and I was getting dressed and I learned, oh, the such and such a line is suspended. I'm like, okay, not going into work today. So I was glad for that. But that's the gist of me watching the news because I realized that I understand like why people would say fake news because I feel like if you're not giving the full the full news, like if you're
Yep.
cherry picking what you want to say, then you're not being honest, right? So for that, I choose to turn to YouTube to some people who I trust their information, and I pick from it because I feel also is that everyone basically shared with you what they want to share based on where they stand,
Right.
and it's for you to basically pick sense from nonsense and absorb
That's a
absorb
T-shirt. That's a T-shirt.
yeah, yeah. And absorb, what you'll believe, what pertains to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
there is so much going on, even with the market crashing, and it's like, oh my God. And it's like, look, there isn't anything that you can do. Because the reality of it is we are living in uncertain times.
Right.
And, I do think that for us, we tend to basically use these things to kind of like drown out noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the point now where sometimes I don't even need it. I think sometimes I've conditioned myself to kind of like just block out
Yeah.
the noise. Because it's all about basically peace, basically maintaining peace and saving energy. So I do agree with you that, the silence is basically where we thrive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that to that point, it's also key to who we surround ourselves around. And some people, their family or
Hmm.
their a partner. So you have chosen. You do have a choice in the matter, um, but you don't have a choice in how they show up. So I think that um, being able to communicate effectively to the person in your life or people in your life, if it's possible, that I just can't have this conversation right now. Like there's a lot of stuff happening, and no, I need to focus on what I'm focused on. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean that I don't want to hear what you have to say. And so that's a tip that introverts. I think we navigate that, being able to shut people down effectively, but
Yes.
not um, with no malice. Not
Yes.
malice intent. Um, and I think that for your own mental health, for your own mental wellness, that the average person is going to have to learn how to shut people down effectively. um,
Yeah.
to say, to create a safe environment or a sane environment. Um, and it feels like a lot of what you were saying earlier about the information sources and people wanting to share with you for a reason. And sometimes it feels like it's also, at least now, the media person, even though they may be produced by other people, it feels like they have a personal intent that they are effectively trying to convey to you.
Hmm.
And for me, that doesn't work because I didn't really, you know, it's different if it's an analyst, like you're talking about the stock market. I'm
Hmm.
listening to you because I do want to know I do want to know what you're personally, what you feel. But for news or regular information, I'm just listening for this source. I'm not
Right.
necessarily listening for, the fact that your grandfather lost whatever
Right.
percentage of his or her, or their rather, re- retirement, and how that makes you feel as a journalist who could have seen this coming. It's like I get it, and that's terrible, but I'm also over here doing this. So I think that's the challenge today for non-introverts is to be able to look at where things are coming from, identifying that I don't want that. I think a lot of people who are not introverts haven't really said that out loud to other
Hmm.
people or even to themselves and said, um, I need sanity or I need peace for sanity. Like you said, um, what did you say? Making sense out of nonsense or picking
Hmm.
sense out of nonsense. And I
Yes.
think that's a skill that we as introverts, I don't necessarily say we pick sense out of nonsense. I think we identify and say we don't want to receive nonsense.
Hmm.
So because we have that filter on, you know, then the sense comes through.
Right.
we're,
Right.
we're saying no.
Right.
I think others also. I'm curious to see what you have to say about this. Um, when you feel like, or do you feel like there's a point at which you don't listen to the news, you don't tap in, you're cool, or you only listen to news for the morning traffic report. But what do you do when you're curious, or are you ever curious?
I'm not. Um, and no, and because I feel like everyone, for the most part, I think even the people who read the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
They either like one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So when they deliver it, it's coming from a biased place, right?
Right.
Because so even the people that we choose to consume on YouTube, pick any topic, whether it's Kendrick and Drake, you like who you like, and so therefore you're going to be paying attention to the person who is talking about the topic that or the person that you like. And so, to your point, going back earlier when you said, like I listen to the people who are going to tell me what I want to know about the market, about my
Right.
401k, about the things that basically impact me.
Right.
It's cute to watch some of the other ones to see what's going on with the people that were rah rah Trump Trump, and now they woo Trump Trump. So I feel like that's for entertainment purposes,
Yeah.
but so I feel like for introverts you have to decide on what you want to consume, um because at the end of the day the damage from my perspective the damage is already done, and to sit around the table and basically mull it over, and every day we're doing this thing and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
you know yeah.
It definitely feels like a slow ride to nowhere.
Yeah, but you know what though? I think, because when the election happened, when I woke up the next morning and I learned that he won, the anxiety that I felt, I never felt that kind of anxiety before. And I was so down, like my spirits were so low for the first few days of the week,
Mm,
where I was crying. I was at work, like
mm.
the tears would just voluntarily like start running because I'm like, what is going to happen? Because because he told us what he was going to do, I'm like, he's going because in my mind he's going to do it.
Right.
But after watching certain people on YouTube, it kind of helped to settle my spirit that it's not like what it was back in the 50s, 40s, 60s. It's a different time now, and so therefore we're not fighting alone.
Yes.
um, you know, and so that kind of helped. We're not, especially living in New York. I mean, even though there are places where there is a racial divide, in the city itself, you have like a mix of every kind of people,
Yes.
so I felt a little bit better. And as the days progressed, like I basically like just came to the realization that it is what it is. It's either going to be another 4 years or another 40 years. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so because it's out of my it's not in my whirlpool, it's not nothing that I can fix, there's nothing that I can do. I'm basically like la 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 la, frolicking in the park because we as introverts, we have to do what is necessary um to just, I guess, like stay in a place of comfort, and not
Yeah,
comfort,
yeah.
you
And
know what
that's
I'm
a
saying?
choice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. The previous version of myself wasn't this way. I was more like worried and panicky and like, oh my God. And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And then not having anyone who could appreciate
Yeah.
the voices in my head. But I feel like now that I'm at this place where I know that it's my choice to participate in certain conversations,
Right.
it's my choice to walk away
Right.
because that's all it is, right? It's even at work, I'm perfectly fine being the weird person who don't talk to anybody. I'd speak to a select few because these are the people who I know have my best interests at heart.
Yes.
These are the people who will not have me at a water cooler talking about, oh my God, did you see what Trump did? I don't care.
Right.
Right. And I think that it's a learned behavior as we grow to basically just get to the point where it's like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. I agree. Also, I was thinking while you were talking about um what is the choice. I think that some people feel like the choice to be in worry is something that is unavoidable. So in other words, they don't feel like it's a choice. Like I have to worry because this is where it's at. So then
Mm-hmm.
when you do the exercise of saying, okay, you don't have to worry. Imagine right now that you don't have to worry about any of this, and you're like, I can't. Why? And this is when you ask the body or the person the why, you get a bunch of different answers. One of them that eventually comes through is that it feels good to worry because it's
Yeah.
familiar. It's one of the places
Right.
that you. And I think that's the challenge facing the extrovert in this time period is can the extrovert become more introverted and put themselves first, and but put themselves first in a it's almost like they have to ask themselves what do they want, and they may have not asked themselves what they wanted because they've always verbalized what they wanted. And so now that there's outside noise, you come inside and say, okay, what do I want? And what is my priorities? What is it that I don't want to say what's a life you want to create for yourself, but it's sort of on that same plane, um, and that's unfamiliar to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah.
And so, but the introvert doesn't really have a choice in creating, or it feels like life kind of creates a space for you where
Mm-hmm.
you've shown up as almost like left-handed rather right-handed. You're born left-handed. That's it. Some people
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, they chose, and that's cool. But some people, like our daughter, she's always her dominant hand was left. Even now, I mean, at 3, it's starting to become more pronounced. So we didn't push her right or left. We just wanted to see. A lot of times we would be like, I wonder, and it would always be left. So I think introverts feel that way, and an extrovert may feel like I have license and agency over you know, well, at least from an introverted side, this is how I see it. It may not be that way, but I feel like they have license. Extroverts feel like they have license and agency over everything,
Mm-hmm.
and to learn that pretty much you don't. And so
Right.
that you only have it over yourself
Over yourself,
um,
yes.
is a new, maybe discomforting space to be in. So I think that's the other thing about choice is that why are you choosing to go to the place that's most chaotic, most undesirable, nervous, place? Why do you choose that? And being honest with yourself about that. And I think it took me, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years to really uh, live in myself and not be in a relationship and not just like to hear what is it that Martin really feels about, and why do I go into, oh my God, this guy is one, why do I go into that crisis mode um,
Yeah.
when I have so much evidence that I don't really have to.
Right.
Um, my wife always says, you're a cocky, SOB. And I don't, I don't, or arrogant. I don't really feel like it's arrogance or cockiness. It's that when you have lived life and you have seen things happen over and over again. Um, and of course, again, that's why I think having this conversation from an introvert perspective of stressful times,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe the second line is, and having lived in New York, because it's
Yeah.
just not. It's one thing after another, and if by 6 o'clock at night, if everything is quiet, you're like, woosah, because it could go down at 8, it could go down at
Mm-hmm.
9, but if by
Mm-hmm.
6 everything's kind of chill, you're like, you know what, it might get away tonight with just go right to bed and no drama. The next door neighbor isn't getting into a fight with their girlfriend, or somebody's apartment isn't flooded. It's like it's always something. And of
It
course, you
is.
hear then if it's nothing in your building and nothing on your block, there's 5 blocks over.
And you hear the sirens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It is
I
always
think
something.
this might be a series, a subset series, how to live through stressful times from the lens of introvert slash New Yorker, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We got to put the New
Yeah.
Yorker, how they think we talk. There are some of us that do talk that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, we do.
But anyway, oh my God, I heard somebody say something the other day. I was like, oh no, oh no, she's from New York. Gee.
Yeah.
And the true New Yorkers who have an accent, they really, most of them don't realize they have, because they and it's such it's a side note, but it's such a I don't know what it is. Like, I will love to talk to the person that has an accent and ask them. And I hung out with a bunch of them, and they,
Yeah.
like, 2 o'clock in the morning, softly talking, like there's nobody around, and I'm like, you can stop with the, ugh. And I was like, what? They're like, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, bro, you don't have to use that hard. It's like, I'm not using that. Like, aha, see, I got you. I knew your voice was like, no, no. It's like, nah. And it's like, when I first moved down south, I would I would say y'all, and it just didn't fit. I would say y'all all the time, and it's just like, and people look at me like, you don't say that. Like, why are you saying y'all? It's
Right.
not a thing. Well, that's what I hear. I hear you always saying y'all, y'all, y'all. It's like, no, not as much, not anymore. Maybe in the '80s, It's like, but anyway.
That's funny because I remember I was in London once, years ago, and they said, "Oh, I like your accent." I was like, "I don't have an accent. You have an accent."
And how they talk
Everybody
about
was like,
themselves
"What's
in the third
wrong?"
person,
Yeah, and it's
us.
funny because we like to hear people with accents.
Yes,
We like to hear our accent. It's like I
yes,
don't have an accent.
yes, yes.
Yep.
I'm addicted to British television. Only
Mm-hmm.
crime and detective stuff, though. Not, I can't take anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always interesting when you hear British people. And occasionally I'll watch a reality show, not like a controversial, like a house or fixing reality show. and I'm listening to see, is it Hollywood or British Wood, whatever it's called? Are they hyper focused on what um, what do they call them? What things that what people think that British people say, so they build into the script.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I don't really hear British people talking about this. So on TV, they say, "Tell us how we do." Tell us, instead of saying "Tell me how you feel," tell us how you feel. And I'm always, where's the other person? Who's us talking about this? So I try to see that. Older
Yeah.
British people do it, but not the younger people. They don't use themselves as a plural, and they're talking about just themselves. Unless they're, it's sort of like when they let their hair down and they're just around. Like I've seen the shows where they're just kind of hanging out with each other, and they'll say something, kind of funny or whatever. And they'll say, "Yeah, that's what we said. We said that," and it's like, oh, they're using that thing. But anyway, um, I definitely think that this time period needs a New York perspective, especially being that the current occupant of the White House has been a thorn in our heels in New York, or a piece of glass or a splinter in our foot for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! And there's another way to say, like, look, he was our problem. Now y'all all got him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, share with everybody. It's just like the former mayor. Y'all take it.
Right.
Y'all have up, please.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess that's a natural progression. And it looks like the maybe next mayor maybe also, have national aspirations. So it's a little bit interesting. But my point is that I think that this is one time that New Yorkers need to step up and actually, yeah, because my wife's always making fun of it, so I'm always trying to not to say it the way she thinks I say it. Um, but we need to step up and let people know, like, yeah, by 12, there's 4 or 5 crises that happen.
Yeah.
That's a New York day.
It listen, I have the ring doorbell, and it's forever going off notification. Today I was in the office and I saw something that said naked man on the street. Okay. I mean, it's like, so whether it's sirens because of
Yeah.
some real emergency, or not that they're not all real, but um
Or the
you
earthquake.
know right where we had the earthquake, traffic, everything, like, so I feel as if, like, there's certain things, like, we're just accustomed to tragedy, like we're
Is that
just
a hawk flying? It's like, it's
right,
like
because and that's the thing, like, because there's always something, so I think that we're conditioned in a certain way to just, tuck and roll and keep going. I mean,
we might be really on to something. We have to do a medium blog, and then
mhm.
we may have to start a Substack called "Living in America the New York Way."
that that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yes. Now that we said it, it won't happen because, but no.
That's the introvert way. We just say it. It's a good
Right,
idea.
right, right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
takeaways for this topic and show is, cut through the noise, get to the source, identify what you really want, and that
Hmm.
you can identify what you want to happen. You can have licensing agency, and then surround yourself um, with people, information, things uh, that you would prefer to have.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's not possible per se, but it's also possible for you to stand up and say, yeah, that right now, that information or that conversation, I just can't have at this time.
And you know what? This morning I did my morning message was something along the lines of, saying, "Can I think about it and get back to you?" It's a thing. You don't
Yep.
have to get back to them, but that's, in my opinion, that's a nice way to basically say
Right.
I'm not interested.
Right.
Because at the end of
Absolutely,
the day,
Jessica. Nope, can't get back
yeah,
to you right now.
right.
It's like,
Because
who's Jessica?
it really is a mindset shift. similar to your wife, saying that you're cocky and all of that. I remember like years ago, and that's before I discovered who I was. Like my family used to say to me, "My gosh, like how do you not panic?" And I'm like, "For what? Like, what is panicking going to do for me?" You know what I mean? Like, how is it going to, like, so, when they change the train schedules in the mornings, and now we have to transfer and all of that, people are like, "Oh my God, we gotta climb up these stairs." Okay. I mean, there's if my I a number of years ago, I told myself, if you're not a part of the problem, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so if I can't fix it myself, or if I can't go to the person who can and will fix it, it is what it is. It is, because there are people that don't like that saying, "It is what it is," but it is what it is.
Yeah, and people who you could go to, uh, I'm thinking this one person particular who was at the White House that I have access to, and he went to an island and he just came back, different complexion, beard. I would look at him like, the the guy from oh god, Forrest Gump, the actor. I can't think of his name right now, but looking at him with
Tom Hanks.
huh?
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, looking at Tom. I'm looking at him like Tom Hanks on the island.
Oh
And
wait, Wilson.
yes, I'm looking at him like he
Castaway.
doesn't have Wilson, but he has something else. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you okay? Like he's like, yeah, I had to get away. So I started asking him, I'm trying to pull him back into this stressful time, and I'm asking him,
Mhm.
hey, what do we do? Because this department is no longer he's going to be here or what have you. He's like, I don't know. So even if you can find the answer or the person that's supposed to have the answer, that may not like the concept of I think introvertism is that we've lived with ourselves
Yes.
long enough to know what buttons we need to push and what buttons
Mhm.
may not be we may not want to touch that right now.
No.
So and that's okay. Like to not touch the button right now is not okay. It's okay. It's like no, not gonna do it. Okay, now you clicked it. Now you clicked it. Now what? Now
Mhm.
what's gonna happen? So I think this in this uncertainty, that's the key. That's the word. Uncertain. I don't want to say stressful. I want to say uncertain times. So in this
Yes.
uncertain times, the uncertainty. How do you live in that space of not knowing? And to your point earlier, if you do know, now what? So,
Right.
um, because
And the thing is, we don't know. We don't know.
that's a little bit discomforting to a lot
A
of
lot of
people.
people. Yeah. But the thing is,
What's the
right?
court's
So
gonna do?
going back, huh?
What's the court gonna do?
Right.
Well, the law says it doesn't though. It kind of says
The
this and
lot
it
the
says this.
we
So
know what the Constitution says, but we're not living in those times anymore.
right,
And going
and it
back
hasn't been
to
challenged in this way.
right. And going back to what you were saying about going to the person who would have the answer. If they don't have the answer, then it's like, all right, well, let me just hop on down the road, because I just feel like no one knows,
Right.
it was him and Musk basically riding along in their automobile, and now Musk is like, I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off because I gotta go on. And homie over
I
here
think it
like,
was. I think they were both. They both decided to. It's typical New York. The power couple splits up. That's a New
oh
York
yeah,
thing.
absolutely,
Happens every.
absolutely, absolutely, because the after the honeymoon phase, it's
Right.
like, all right, I can't with you no
Right.
more.
Like
you know?
what was the mayor before this mayor? Um, are they getting divorced now? I think that him and his wife gone. They separated, or they went back to living apart like they were living before he became mayor.
Who?
Um, tall guy. Oh God, why am I blanking on his name? I think I tried to forget him. He
And
was a
I'm in
worse.
New York.
I consider him to be worse man. I consider him to be worse than Eric. The mayor we just had. They just had Hillary Clinton's former guy. He married the black woman, tall white guy.
I can't remember. I know who. De Blasio. De Blasio.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Him and his wife is Splitsville. So that's back to the
And see, back to New York, it's like, oh well. Like you're right. Like New Yorkers do not make a big thing out of anything.
we expect
Um,
the unexpected.
yeah, it's just another day in the neighborhood.
The next 60 minutes, that's what's gonna happen.
Right. Because for me, right? So for me, I'm at the point now where when I wake up in the mornings, I'm wondering, I wonder what Pinky and the Brain gonna do today. Because I really feel like we are living in one
So
big
Peaky and the
reality
Brain.
show. Yes, we're living in one big reality show, and there's no telling what's going to happen from one day or 1 minute really to the next because of social media and because that's the route that a lot of people take.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like you never know.
yeah.
So for me, I like to think that I'm living in so I saw Wicked the other day, like the one in the movies.
Hmm.
And when it started and Glenda showed up in her like her nice bubble, I was like, "Oh, that's nice." I want a bubble like that. I feel like in my mind, I live in a bubble, and it's a nice protective shield. At the end of the day, if they wipe out all of our savings, 401k, whatever have you, there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it.
Hmm.
Eggs cost $1 million for one. You can choose to buy it or not.
Yeah,
Because
I
complaining isn't going to do anything.
I will step you back a little bit from the no choice or no. We can choose. There are things we can do. The question I think that the average person has to be able to be in the right frame of mind to ask themselves
Hmm.
about. So I think that's where we come in at and say, look, you can get in the right frame of mind. That's a choice.
That is a choice.
And
That is a choice.
whether you choose to buy the $1 million egg or not, or you choose to grow some yourself, get a chicken. It's like
Yeah.
that. That's where we're getting the people to the space that okay, yes, it is this bad. Here's the thing: you have A or B. Now, which one do you want? And
Right.
that's the thing.
That's
I
it. Yeah.
don't think that a lot of people are happy that they have. It's it's like with
It's a
any
hard.
situation. They're
Yeah.
not happy that they have to.
But it's not easy. Like
Right.
someone
Right.
is going to be someone is going to be disappointed,
Yes.
and because in
And
in
you're gonna have to
in
work twice as hard. That's just the thing.
yes,
But yeah.
that's it. And in actuality, the thing that we all could be doing is basically, figure out like who do we want to represent us in the next election,
Right.
right? But as of right now, as of this second, it is what it is. Like there isn't anything that any one person can do because I don't think anyone can sway the president's mind
Right. Right.
from
Right.
because I do feel like it's kind of like, so he sees that he has the power
Yes.
and he's using it.
Yes.
So it's either you shift your mindset to understand that there isn't anything that is going to come from you panicking,
Right.
right? Like waking up every day and choosing to, instead of choosing to wake up in a nice clear headed frame of mind, then to get up like, oh my god, eggs and the groceries and the gas and da. You can either choose to purchase the gas or not. You can either choose to consume the information on the news that is causing you to basically get so like
Panicky.
angry,
Hmm.
or not. Because the reality of it is, it's reality.
Yeah,
Like,
and you're gonna spend more to get less. But we
so
have
you
been
have to
spending
make
more
up
to
your
get
mind.
less every year.
Yeah, like you have to
Not new.
decide on what is important to you. Do you really need that shoe, or you want some eggs?
Or do you want to focus on the fact that because some people are in a position to afford the shoe and the eggs, but they need to go to Costco to get the eggs. And the
Hmm.
shoes they get them for Payless, or not Payless is gone, but whatever the Payless version of that place is, or get it from Amazon or directly from Etsy or someplace in a local that is it's not the it's a shoe and it's covering your feet. It's
Hmm.
not the J's or whatever else shoes out there that people want, but it's a shoe
It's a shoe.
and you can wear it and you
Yeah.
can put a nice memory foam sole from CVS in the bottom of it, and so you could choose, to I focus on that's terrible. I got yes, you have to do all that. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can do it.
Yeah.
You're not in another country where they have no choice, and U.S. aid is completely cut off, and they ain't coming
Mhm.
back.
Right. Right.
So I think that a lot of times in these type of situations, New Yorkers. Now I'm hearing my wife's voice in my head. That's what I say. I gotta get that. But we tend to focus on what's the solution for us that time, that day, that block, that borough. We're
Hmm.
very analytical, and those of us that navigate New York in a successful way. The other people who, like I remember one time, I think something was, I don't know if it was water. It was something that was out of whatever because of whatever snowstorm or something, and it was like, you really went to the South Bronx to get 2 gallons of water? Yep, I did. You know why? Because I didn't want to stand in line. You
Right.
waited on a train for 45 minutes,
Yeah.
back and forth, so you could get 2 gallons of water.
Yeah.
Yes, because I didn't want to wait at ShopRite or Pathmark or Fine Fair so I went up to the South Bronx to Hunts Point where the
Hmm.
water people are and got 2 bottles of water. You walked, 16 blocks with 2 bottles of water. I did. Because you know what
And
I
then,
had? I had peace.
right. And I always tell people you cannot pay for peace. You cannot pay for peace.
No. It's just, listen, listen. And that's the thing. It's going to be that situation like what we were saying savings. I was going to say, just putting it out there, this is not financial advice. Um, Definitely check with whoever you trust your money. That said, 401ks, you can move your money out of 401k to a high yield account, get 4% on a high yield savings account. And I would really, look at that perspective versus leaving it, just leaving it there and keep watching it go down.
Go
You
down. Yeah.
might want to just snatch it out and put it somewhere else because
Hmm.
that's your choice. It's your money. You can't move it. You don't have to just sit there and watch this thing happen. Now it just went up again. But understand, again, it's the up, down, up. In fact, somebody, last point I'll make is Mark Cuban put up a tweet the other day, and he was like, listen, y'all might want to you might want to leave your stuff right there because the stock market goes up and down, and it's
Yeah.
going to go up. And, today he would probably say I was right. But when it kept going down on Monday or Sunday night, he deleted that tweet and came back with one. Well, do you? Because some of us can wait out, some of us can't, and so I don't want you to follow my advice, and
Right.
I'm not,
Right.
and I'm good, but you may not be good, so you might want to pull it out.
And so and this goes back to what we were saying before about, like going to people who knows better than we do.
Yes,
Um, you
source.
know, yeah. So yesterday Susie Orman popped up in my feed. I haven't seen this lady in many, 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 many
Me
years.
neither. You said that day, I'm like, whoa,
Right,
throwback.
right, right, exactly. And
Does she have the
one of the
same
things that
hairstyle? Does she look older? She more wrinkled? No,
she does not look older.
because she's Susie's
She looks
like,
the same. She sounds the same. And she's like, if you've been following me for a while, I've been telling you. And one of the things that she said, that resonated with me was if you have a 401k and if you'll be working for over 5 years, like
yep,
5+ years,
yep,
don't worry about it. But if you're working less than, and I was like, well, okay, I ain't gonna worry about it because, and this is what I'm saying about, I'm gonna take the information that resonates with me. Everything else is trash
right,
because I'm not one of the because I always wonder if there is chaos, how will I react? Like I'm not a person who ride roller coasters. I have ridden them in my time, and I've gladly decided to basically retire from it. And I'll hold your coat because when I get on the roller coaster, I'm not. I just sit there very calm, and when it finishes, I'm like, never again. Never again. And I know because I'm like, why do I want my pressure to go up? Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna pay. No, I'm not doing it.
And you're paying for it. You pay to be scared. That's not,
Yeah, it
like
makes
it's
no
like
sense.
showing up at a robbery and put the gun in the back of my head, please.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
It's like,
No, I'll hold your coat. I will hold your coat.
yes, yes,
I'll see you at the end.
right. It's just like
Yeah.
companies say, "Hey, Mark, Dr. Pratt, there's a team building exercise." Like, I'm good. And they're like, no, it's a team. We're all a team. Yeah, I'm a consultant. Sorry. It's like,
Right, right,
it wasn't in my contract. Would you want to be a team player? No, I don't. I'm a consultant for a reason.
right.
It's like, what? So they said, a message. Hey, we're gonna do a virtual panic room. It's like, first of all, panic for anything. You said roller coaster made me think of that, and I was like, nah, I'm good. No, but it's a virtual. You don't have to really. I was like, gotcha. I'm okay. Bye bye.
You know what's funny about that? They're so enthusiastic about doing these things, and the same reaction that you're giving is like, No." Like the other day at work, they were planning an event. I'm on the event planning committee, and someone asked me, "Hey," very enthusiastic, are you gonna have?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." It is so crazy how my mood switches up because when it's someone, and it's nothing against people, but I'm realizing that if it's someone who I genuinely care about, I'm like, oh! And if it's somebody else, is like, yeah, what? And I'm not being rude or anything like that, but I'm not. You
It's
don't
just
need.
being you. You're being you.
Yeah. And so there was a point in time when I used to think, oh my God, was I mean? And now I'm like, I realize I'm not mean. I just want this conversation to not extend way beyond what it needs to.
Right.
My no is a no. Let's not, extend it farther than it needs to go.
Right.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the prom story, senior prom, and I'm in a senior English class, and so there's maybe half of the senior class in there. So it's only a small class, maybe like 80 people. So the class is like 40 people. They're
Hmm.
like, yeah, so you come and it was in New Jersey, and we had it at this place called the Manor. So it was all those high schools went to this place, and
Yep.
so it was really ritzy, and everybody got a limo and all the early stuff. So they're
Yep.
like, hey, Mark, you going to the senior prom? I'm like, nope. Like, why not? Because literally, the person asking the question, this is the first time you and I talked in 4 years.
Oh wow.
So why would I go to a prom with people that don't know me, don't care to know me, and honestly,
Right.
I don't care to know either.
Right.
And why would I take a date to a prom where people don't speak to me? I don't speak to them. They don't care to know me. I don't care to know them, and
Right.
subject her to that, and
Hmm.
spend $1,000. So they were like, "Whoa, oh, we didn't know you felt that way." I was like, "Who's we?" It's just you talking, and like the class
Right.
is here, but everybody else is, as because it was like maybe a month or two before the prom, and I was like, "There's been a senior planning committee I'm on. There's been this. There's been that. No one except you has asked me, am I going to prom?"
Hmm.
So then that person, he has come back like, "Oh, it's because of the religion you're in." I was like, "No, that's not. So and so went to prom last year. This one went to prom. They're all in the same congregation, the same religion as me." I said,
Hmm.
"No, it's not that. It's you."
Right.
and, and everybody in class is like cracking up. They're like, "Ooh, okay." And I was gonna say y'all, but he was the only one talking, so I was like, "No, it's you. It's
Yeah.
not that. It's you." But that's
And that's when they'll say that you have an attitude like, "Oh my God, you're so mean." No, I'm not. Not mean.
yeah, it's just that there's never been. It's always interesting when that shows up, and I think that's another topic probably on navigating uncertain times, because they're going to be, and I don't think that, let's say, everybody does it on purpose. Although I have been seeing some good videos from white people coming back from the protests over the weekend, going, "I get it now, black people," and I was like, "Wow, okay," but before the protest, white people were saying, you should step up. Y'all shouldn't just be on break. It's like,
Right, right. Oh no, we over here chilling. It's
it's a
not
lot
our
of
fight.
work. It's a lot of work protesting. It's a
It
lot,
really is.
and
It
there's
really is.
nothing. And what are you getting for it? So
Right.
I'm glad, all the pink could come out and all the
Yeah,
pink could happen, but the melanated stayed
we
home and
couldn't.
relaxed.
I've seen some videos also. I was watching Tabitha Speaks Politics last night, and she was showing a video of the protests over the weekend, and it's very interesting to see how they fight against each other. And then I realized that if it was one of us there, we would be in cuffs.
Yep.
I mean, this man, so they were protesting peacefully, and a man, showed up in his truck with his wife, whatever, and he gets out and he's up in their face, woo, and then he got headbutted, and he ran back to his car, came out with a gun. He wasn't brandishing it, but he had it aside.
Hmm.
His nose was bleeding. He's calling for 911, and I'm thinking, first of all, the fact that he went to his vehicle and got a gun, how, right? So, because we couldn't do that. So it's interesting to see. For me, it is always interesting to see how different the treatment is.
Yeah.
So it is nice to
But also, he
basically,
didn't shoot.
huh?
He didn't shoot.
He didn't.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. He got the gun, but he didn't shoot.
He didn't shoot, and he didn't have it like this either. Like it was at his side. And my thing is, okay, you're at a protest where there's a whole bunch of people, and it's just you and your wife. You have one gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the fact that they're so emboldened to do those things that if we thought about doing it, we would be in cuffs or dead. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So these uncertain times that we're living in, we're getting to see, we're basically able to have front row seats to see America.
Right.
And
Yep.
what's sad about it is that the world is also seeing America on big screen, because now it's so like real. It's not even housewives, because it's not Housewives of America,
Yeah.
but it feels like a reality show where
Yep.
every day is something different, and it's like, oh God, it's like so like that embarrassing uncle, like, oh God, uncle, sit down.
But like you're saying, New Yorkers have been dealing with that for I don't know since Koch. Like I remember some of the old schoolers. We used to say the guy before Koch, can't think of his name, but it wasn't
Lincoln.
Rockefeller or Brendan or I forget the mayor before Koch, but and the governor they were those are rough times too. We had this, and I'm like, you ain't have something going on every single day though. And they were like, it didn't go on every single day, but the days were shorter or something. They would say something. But yeah, like so, I don't know. Now that I'm really thinking about it, I kind of feel like you know, look, this is par for the course, y'all. Y'all, welcome to our world. We've been dealing with broken bridges, train lines, negotiation with unions, people losing their job. Like I'm thinking, hearing all this. Probably the only thing we haven't dealt with deportations, but it's like this is an average day in New
This is
York.
the thing.
Yeah,
It really
yeah,
is. I mean, the other day I thought about it and I was like, DEI. Well, introverts never really wanted to be included anyway, so
yeah. New York, there's no DEI in New York. No matter what they try, all kind of things. I'm not even gonna go to that direction, but this has been an excellent episode.
yes, thank you. It was. I do think that, as an introvert, it is important to know how to navigate uncertain times. This isn't a test run. This
Right,
isn't a test run. This is reality. And it's up to you to consume what matters to you, and know that when you say no, not interested, it's not an insult, it's not a diss to the next person. It's more you protecting your peace.
right.
That's what you need to do now. If you live someplace where you can go to the park, go for a walk, basically, like, just do because protecting your peace is, it's a thing. I mean, we're not gonna have medical insurance maybe, so you don't want to get sick. Maintain your peace.
Peace and space.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, what
We,
happened
we
to
can't
what
get
happened to social distancing?
you can't right, and you can't get that much space in New York. No matter what you try to do,
Right.
sir, ma'am,
Right.
on the
So
train,
true. So
personal
true.
space is non-existent. So get used to it.
Nope. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Pratt, for another wonderful episode. I do hope that you, viewer, that this resonates with you and that, there's some takeaways for you. If so, please drop down in the comments below and let us know. Also, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe and also like and share this video. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next week.